Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Wilma Hodges and I'll be moderating this session. This session is a Sakai Mobile App with our presenter Adam Marshall. Just real quickly before we get started, the session is being recorded. You'll receive an announcement once all the recordings are available. It won't be available until a couple weeks after the conference, so only the keynotes are available immediately. But you will get an announcement from the Sakai site to let you know when all the rest of the recordings are able to be viewed. If you do have any questions throughout the session, please type them into the question box in the GoToWebinar panel. And let me just introduce Adam. Adam Marshall works in academic IT services at the University of Oxford and manages the university's Sakai instance. In the past, he's been a lecturer in e-learning and developed an open source electronic personal development planning application. Adam is an active contributor to the Sakai open source community and has extensive experience in interoperability and delivering electronic services within the educational institution. He's also written a number of academic papers about optimization, software testing, and learning technology, and more recently has been the author and leader of a number of successful IT projects. And with that, I will turn it over to Adam.
Well, thank you. What a billing, eh? I hope I don't disappoint anybody. So anyway, I was going to talk about what a Sakai mobile app might look like. And the first thing to do is to kind of apologise because I'm afraid I haven't done any mock-ups. I did intend to, but I just didn't have time. So hopefully my words will paint the picture and you'll all understand what's going on. So that was an apology. What it is, you see, we've just put in a project proposal here at Oxford to do a Sakai mobile app. So this isn't something that is absolutely definitely going to happen, but the indications are that it's quite likely, although they might end up funding it, giving us less money than we've asked for. So anyway, we'll see what happens. It was we were supposed to find out actually by now, but unfortunately the meeting that was going to decide ran out of time. So we're still waiting on tender hooks. So keen observers might know that we have a thing called Mobile Oxford, which was kind of had bits of Sakai in it. So we were using the old entity broker interface, web service interface, and it was, it was kind of, it was done probably about 6 years ago. It was pretty good at the time, but nothing's been done on it since, and it's very old and very creaky now, and is very much in need of an update. So we put together this project request, which is how we do things here, to do another project called Mole. And the project request was accepted. So then we said we wanted to do a project brief, which basically is where you go out and you find out what it is you're going to do in the project. Because we sort of knew, we wanted a mobile solution for Sakai, for WebLearn, but what exactly was this? And I thought, well, it'd be a series of apps, that sort of thing, but it turns out it's not quite what people were telling us. So we've got this Mole project. We interviewed, well, I say we, I didn't do it. We had a business analyst from IT services interviewing staff and students, and he's very used to working in industry, so he did a fantastic job, and we've got very, very lengthy business requirements, lots of things that we really can't fit into the project, but we're interesting to hear, and lots of things that hopefully we can. So the basic idea is that we're going to base all this upon Sakai 11, so we're targeting the next version of Sakai. Obviously it's not released yet, but by the time the project gets started, it will hopefully have undergone a code freeze and quite a lot of QA, although I don't think we necessarily expect it to be actually released. Now what we're doing isn't the same as Morpheus. What Morpheus is doing is having regular Sakai sort of working on the phone, looking okay. What we're talking about is doing an app. So it's not, you don't look at the regular Sakai interface, you're looking at an app which is doing all sorts of stuff, behind the scenes, getting data out of Sakai, rendering it in a very mobile-friendly way, and so on and so forth. And one of the things that they were telling us was that the business requirements were telling us that people want us to take advantage of phone features. They don't just want like a website, which looks good, small. They want to take advantage of some phone features. So I'll come to that a bit later. So this is separate from Morpheus. And then the last line is just a sort of slight disclaimer, really, in that we haven't actually got it funded yet, but fingers crossed, we will. So the first thing in the business requirements was, what do we mean by the project being finished? What is done in regards to the project? So we wanted something, an app that will work on a phone and a tablet. Sorry, this is what we were told we wanted. We wanted something that's professional, something that's streamlined. I mean, I don't know whether they're saying that Sakai isn't, but anyway. They want something that you kind of log in once. You don't have to go and put your login details in every time you fire the app up. So that's, some sort of different authentication. Something that works with Sakai 11. We particularly said that we wanted it to be open source because we actually want everybody else in the Sakai community to be able to use this and, well, work with us on developing it and so on. So it's not something that's going to be sold. It's going to be a PhoneGap based open source project stuck in GitHub and everything that goes with it. And also we wanted it to be rebrandable, if that's such a word, or if it's not, well, localizable. And that was mainly so that departments here could put their own kind of departmental banner on it, as it were. But also so other institutions in the Sakai world can put their own banner on it, so to speak. So, and this is a quick question from Alexander. There will be, we're going to rewrite a web service interface, completely new web service interface. That was a question from Alistair Hendricks about how it's going to work behind the scenes. I think I might come to that later, but anyway. So, an overview of the app then. So, kind of, the headline stuff is that it's sort of going to be a read-only version of Sakai with offline storage. So we're not really expecting students to, author their assignments, essays on their phone or anything like that. Yeah, okay, people will be doing quizzes and things like that, but it will be mainly a kind of reading stuff on your phone or on a tablet kind of scenario, and we hope to be able to allow people to sync stuff. So, and I'll come to that a bit later, but basically, you're waiting, you're going to go on a three-hour bus journey or plane journey or train journey or something, and why not take 3 hours worth of useful notes with you to read, that kind of thing. So what we trying to base it really around the lessons tool. We very much see the lessons tool as being the way forward with certainly at Oxford, but with Sakai. So yeah, there's concessions to the old way of doing things, having stuff in resources, but also we're just basically hoping that people will use lessons, and then we can do clever things with the lessons tool. So it's going to be iOS and Android, not what's it called, the Windows one? I can't remember the name of it. Windows 10, sorry. And so in essence, there's kind of 3 views that are going to hit you when you get to the front page. So you're going to go to the app first time you ever use it. You won't have to log in actually, but you can log in, and it probably makes sense to log in. But we were quite happy to show people public sites in WebLearn if that's, there's no need to log in if you haven't got an account. Anyway, so the first view you see, it's going to have search, and the search will let you either find a site. So I don't know whether people know, but there's a sort of find sites tool in Sakai, and it lets you type in a site name, and it will give you a link to the site. And then you can click on it, and it'll take you to the site. Now, at Oxford, we have a lot of public sites, you see, so this is quite useful. So on the front page of our WebLearn, there's a Find Sites tool. You can click on the site, and it will take you there if you are allowed to access it. So you'll be able to do that. Also, you will be able to find content in the site. So the search tool, if you're a member of a site, you can search for material over all your sites if you go into the search tool, and so that's the search. Now, I'm not saying that search is going to be the first page. What I'm saying is the first view of the app is going to have these 3 things on it. I don't think we've really decided what the initial view of the thing is. Anyway, you're going to be able to search. We're going to have a dashboard, which is a bit like the new dashboard tool in Sakai 11. In other words, it kind of gives you like calendar of things that are coming up, things you ought to be aware of, you know, the due date of your assignment, things like that. It may well have events that have just happened, like new material uploaded to a particular site and all that sort of thing. So it's kind of like the dashboard tool, but we think there's probably going to be stuff that isn't in the dashboard that you currently get in Sakai 11 that we would want to appear in our dashboard. So there's a bit of work to do there. And then the basic sort of view, you know, the basic kind of PDA portal view is a list of sites. So you see a list of sites, click on the site you want to, jumps to the site. We're not necessarily going to do all the tools, although we hope that that we will do a sensible thing with all the tools. So we're not embracing all the tools into the app, but we are addressing all the tools. And one of the clever things, which I'm assured we can do, is there will be calendar integration. So you will be able to see all your Sakai calendars in your phone's calendar. So I don't know whether people know this, but if you activate the facility in My Workspace, a student can go there and they can get a URL which they could subscribe to in Outlook, which contains a collation of all their Sakai calendars. So it's like an aggregation of all the site calendars, and basically you can see all your Sakai calendars in Microsoft Outlook. So we're going to use that facility in the app, so you will be able to see all your Sakai calendars in your phone's app, in your phone's calendar app. Sorry, so that's good, isn't it? So the dashboard view, then I better get a move on actually. The dashboard view is a sort of quick reference guide. It's got what I'm calling soft notifications. So these aren't the sort of notifications that you get on your phone and it wakes you up at 3 in the morning with something saying, you know, you have got a new friend in some game or other that your 6-year-old son was playing yesterday. You know. So these are notifications on the screen, but they don't wake you up. The dashboard will also have what's happening today, what's happening this week. So if things have got dates on them, they will see you know, what's happening. And this is similar to an app that was developed at Oxford. This was a native iOS app which we did some work on, but we didn't do the coding. And I'll show you a screenshot of that in a minute. And that we're sort of using that as a bit of a prototype to what we're doing. And that was ever so popular with these Blavatnik School of Government students. They all got a free iPad. And then basically the iPad sort of lays out exactly what they've got to do each week, and they just loved it. And as I said before, we might have to add something to Sakai 11's dashboard so the dashboard view is sort of complete. So the Blavatnik School of Government app, as I say, is a bespoke app, and the picture on the right is kind of what the students see. So this is a particular view for a week, and you can see they've got, well, obviously that screen will scroll, but they've got a series of PDFs. And when they've read them, the little corner gets folded over. And it basically says, this week you are going to be doing all these things. And then the students don't really have to think about what they're going to do. It's all laid out absolutely on a plate, you know, right in front of them. And they just basically sit down and click on thumbnails. And it's all synced behind the scenes. So all this stuff is available offline for them. Say they did a survey and absolutely everybody loved it. So we're hoping to do something like this, basically. So the site view is, yeah, a bit like the PDA portal for those that know it. What we want to do is go to a site and then you'll see a list of tools, which is pretty much like what you see if you go into Sakai normally. We're going to re-implement some tools. So the app is going to use these web service calls and get stuff out of lessons, format it nicely for a phone screen or a tablet screen and present it back to you. So it's going to do that with announcements, lessons, sign-up tool, the poll tool, grade bookmarks, resources, and sort of web content stroke home. I've put those together because they're sort of the same. What we're not going to cover is we're not going to cover the evaluations tool, which is hugely popular at Oxford, or NEMI, which we use. We don't use Samigo at all. We have a reading list tool as well, and LTI tools. These, if you see them in a site and you click on them, what will happen is the browser will be launched behind the scenes. Unfortunately, you'll probably have to log in with your regular Sakai username and password, which is a bit of a bother, but at least you get to see the page that you were hoping to see in the app. So we're giving a kind of, you know, we're letting people do everything in the app, but actually, you know, some things are going to be slightly awkward. And if my phone's ringing, I don't believe it. I just stopped it. So yeah, so they will break basically. No, I'm talking nonsense there. The last section on the page actually is what we're going to render in the browser. So So the wiki page and tests and quizzes and things like that are going to open up in the browser. What I was talking about before, the evaluations, tests and surveys, NEMI and so on, we're actually going to just display the HTML page within the app. So we're going to fetch the HTML page and display it in the app. So we're going to have to make sure that those pages are kind of responsive is the right word. Anyway, moving on. So the lessons tool, we really like the lessons tool. Anyone who heard the previous talk from Oxford in the last session from Steve and Zav know that we like the Oxford. We like the lessons tool. So what we're going to do is we're proposing to add dates to the lessons tool, intended for dates. So that's not the same as having lessons pages appear on a certain date. This is to say, well, this lesson really is for the first week of term, and then this lesson is for the second week of term. And that way, we can then, knowing which week of term it is, in the dashboard, we can say, well, this week you're supposed to be doing these lessons from these sites, and we can actually lay stuff out. So this week, there's all these lessons pages you should be reading. And one of the other things we need to do with the lessons tool, because we're going to get people to kind of download stuff to read offline, we don't want infinitely nested lessons pages because it could get pretty complicated. So we were thinking of having a maximum depth of 3 sets of pages. Everyone will have seen on the Try Sakai conference site that there's various levels of nesting. So we're only going to go down 3 levels of pages, and then that's 3 levels of sub-pages as well. So within the lessons tool on the phone, there's going to be a download lessons to device button, which you click on, and it basically, while you're connected to Wi-Fi, downloads everything, and then doesn't store it in your normal downloads folder. It stores it sort of somewhere within Sakai, and then you can basically navigate around offline within a lesson, which is quite nice. And we're also thinking of creating like templates in the lessons tool. So that's like you add a lessons tool to the site and say, what I want here is 3 8-week terms starting on this date and each term, and then we click a button and it automatically creates 24 lessons tool placements, each one for a week, each one with dates attached and so on, and that takes the pain out of adding all these intended for dates. So we would like to do that, and we'd also like to do like the sort of inverse of it, where you actually create a number of topic-based templates, and each of the subpages in those lessons tools will have intended for dates possibly. So big changes to the lessons tool. One thing we did want to do is allow staff who are stuck on the bus or whatever to email all their students, well, not email, but to notify all their students that lecture's going to be cancelled. So there's one push notification that we're going to do, and that is for staff to write an announcement, a very, very high priority announcement, which gets onto everybody's phone, notifies them, lecture cancelled, go to the pub instead or something. It's going to be a plain text message and a system notification on the phone. So unfortunately, to do that, we have to build a notification framework, but that will be of much use later on, as hopefully as the app builds up with other people contributing, we can build more onto that notification framework. So it's quite a big task actually. So other things we're going to do, I think I'm getting towards the end-ish now. Oh, this is the last slide. Is we're going to have a similar kind of share button on resources. It's not going to have a similar share button on resources. We're going to have a similar download button on resources. So if you go into resources view, a bit like lessons, it's going to say download all this content to my phone. So this is the kind of unstructured, big basket of PDFs and so forth that people shovel into the resources tool. That is the way everyone's been using Sakai at Oxford, so we can't really just ignore that. But what we're hoping people will do is use lessons, but if they don't, then you will be able to sync your resources offline. The first point, which I mistakenly spoke about just then, is on every resource page that you look at, there's going to be a share button, a bit like you get if you're reading a newspaper, a website or something like that, and basically you click on the share button and it does what normally happens on a phone, which is pops up a load of apps where you can share stuff. So there could be an email app where you'd be able to share the URL of the resource, and there's another button where you could maybe copy the text into like I've got this app called Fast Notepad, a little notepad app, you can copy text into there and all that. So that's sort of utilising one of the things phone does quite well, being able to share stuff. Every page is going to have a feedback button, basically so we can get people to tell us, what we've done wrong, ask questions, say this bit doesn't work, all that sort of thing. Every page will also have a show page and browser button, because if you go into a particular tool expecting to see what you see in the Morpheus view or in the web view, and you go into announcements, think I'll just make an announcement here, and of course you can't because you're not it's the wrong sort of announcement or something like that, or you want to go and author a wiki page, so you go into the wiki tool, but actually there's no authoring capability. So there's always going to be a show this page in the browser button on every page. As I said before, that means you're going to have to log in, but if you want to author a wiki page, then I'm afraid you're just going to have to log in. We're going to have a storage management facility because, if somebody's put thousands and thousands of gigabytes worth of stuff into a resources folder, you want to be able to see what's going on your phone. You want to see that this Sakai site has, taken up all this space on my phone. I need to manage this. I need to get rid of it, or I want to, upload some MP3s or something. And to answer Alistair Hendrick's question, yes, we're going to do a complete new web service interface. Entity broker or /direct is okay, but we think it'd be far better to have a standard framework like something like JAX RS, and there's been a bit of discussion on the dev lists about this. People seem to think that's a good one, and we will be talking about that. We're going to have a conference, sort of developers meeting in Orlando in January. We're going to be talking about that there. Quite a lot of people seem to say they will help, which is great. But yeah, so every tool will, if it's going to work with the app, will have to have this JAX RS web service interface. So my slides have now finished.
We've got about 10
early,
minutes
perhaps.
left.
Yeah, sorry, 10 minutes left. But so I'm very happy to take questions. There hadn't been many questions actually. I don't know how many people are here, but
It looks like we have 49 attendees.
You can always email me later. Oh. I'll just type my email address into the chat so that if you want to send me the email about stuff, you've got my email address. I'm very happy to have any queries at all, and we keep everybody posted. So hopefully you can see that. I just sent to organisers and publicists, panellists only, isn't it? I'm not entirely sure how I broadcast my email address to all the people listening in, but maybe I can add it to this slide.
There, I've sent it out to all.
All right, okay. Just put it on the slide as well. So did anyone have any questions, or shall we all...
Okay, yeah, it looks like we do have a few questions rolling in now.
Yeah, wireframes, in answer to the first question, will be available as one of the first things that we do in the project. So whenever the project starts, which is, it's not going to be before February, and it could be February, it could be March. Hopefully it won't be too much after that. We will be doing wireframes, and it won't be my team doing them, but I think we should circulate them to the Sakai community, absolutely, definitely. I will push for that, and yeah, we would love to solicit comments. So Leonardo, a bit of a difficult question for me to answer. I thought, Leonardo's asking, why did you decide to go with a native app via PhoneGap instead of an HTML5 app? I can't really say, but the people who are doing that side of the coding, we're doing the Sakai end of the coding, so we're doing the new JAX RS interface, we're doing the adding stuff to lessons tool. A completely separate team are developing the app, and they have a certain series of set technologies they will use, and if they're going to do an app for a phone, they're going to use PhoneGap. That's basically what they're going to do. So we didn't really have much input as to whether it was going to be an HTML5 app or a PhoneGap app. I must admit, I thought if you used PhoneGap, you got HTML5 out the other end, but I don't know much about these things. So we're kind of at the mercy of this other team anyway, at that point. So yeah, sorry about that. So Alistair Hendricks is asking, you mentioned using phone features. Would a native app not be more appropriate for this? Well, I guess that's a similar sort of question. The team who are doing it want to use PhoneGap. So I'm afraid I don't really have enough technical knowledge to be able to comment any more about that. Tricia says, good presentation. Thank you very much, Tricia. That's really nice to hear. Next question. hope this isn't too technical for me. It looks a bit technical. What strategy is planned for developing for Android and iOS the minimum hassle of 2 code sets? I don't know. Again, it's this other team who are doing it. I mean, they've done quite a lot of phone development before, so I'm afraid I can just assume that they know what they're doing. Sorry, not very good on the technical questions, but I mean, if you ask me stuff by email, I will try and get answers from people who are a bit more qualified to answer technical stuff, and then we can work towards it. I don't think we're actually going to be able to convince anyone to change anything. I think you know, what they say they're going to use is going to get used. Maybe if, you know, we can put a good strong argument across, or maybe if they do have a sort of different approaches that could possibly be used, we might be able to go down a different route. But as things are in the project plan as they stand, yeah, the plan was to use PhoneGap. So yeah, well, that was the end of the questions. Very happy to take some more if there are any, or we could just knock off a couple of minutes early. No more questions. Well, thanks everyone
I don't
for
see
your
anything
time.
coming in.
Oh,
There's
two
one.
questions. Yeah, I'm not sure if somebody, sorry, Alistair is now asking if somebody else writes a native Sakai app, which is open source, would we build on that? Tricky question. I guess we couldn't ignore it, and we would have to look seriously at it. But would, yeah, I mean, again, I can't answer that. You would hope that you know, that we would use it. I mean, I know Diego has done some kind of proof of concept stuff, and I did mention that, and there didn't seem to be much appetite for building upon that. But then again, he hasn't done a great deal. But if someone came along with a sort of fairly fully formed app, I think we would be a bit daft to ignore it. There is one thing I haven't mentioned, is that there's a South African firm have written, I think it's a commercial Sakai mobile app, which it basically came about after we'd finished all our project proposals and submitted it off to the committees and so forth. So we will definitely have to look about that. But I don't think it's open source, I'm not sure. Okay, I think that will do.
Yeah,
Thanks
well,
ever so
thank you,
much
Adam.
for
That was
listening,
a great
everybody.
presentation. Looks like you guys are
Thank
doing some
you.
really exciting stuff with mobile. So,
Yes, well, we hope so, certainly,
yeah,
yeah.
wonderful. Well, thanks,
Okay,
everyone. And thanks again, Adam. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. And I will see all of you in the next session.
okay,
Have a
bye.
great day.